People, Deluded, I'm back again. I hope you're all doing well and safe, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, even good night, depending on whoever you are, wherever you are in this world. I mean, every day I check my comments, I see someone from a new region of the world, and first and foremost, I'm always appreciative of the support you lot give me. Second of all, it shocks me, first and foremost, because obviously the internet helps us all connect, but the facts of, you could have someone in Nigeria, someone in Jamaica, someone in Spain, someone in Siberia, all different diverse nations, different ways of life, different cultures and things, but you could all be connected and kind of form some sort of community over one central love for football. I mean, people always underestimate sport, football in particular, and it's crazy for me, people, and it's crazy in general. So I'm always appreciative, and that's why I like to do these Q&As, because it's just my little way of giving back. I can't give much to you lot, and I like to think I put in a bloody decent shift being consistent with videos and stuff, but this allows us to kind of, I wouldn't say do it differently, because we're still touching on football. I know some of you ask some different questions. Like, I can see one smart guy now. In fact, like, before I get in, this guy's made me just lose what I was saying. Like I said, thank you for the questions. It allows me to give something back to you lot. And let's crack on. Now, we've got a funny guy here, man. Screen Cleaner 64 says, and to be fair, it's a good one. Who smiles more, you or Martial? Oh, you're unique, man. You're unique. Let me like that one, man. That's a funny one still. That's a funny one. I give you that. Tough one, really, man. Tough one. I'd say Martial. He's scoring goals, If I could score some goals in the Prem, I might smile a bit. I'd say Martial. He's got double figures for goals. What's it, 17 in all comps? I could be wrong, but he's in double figs. So I'll say Martial, my dude, man. Good way to kick it off, man. There's always a wise guy, but when it's wise like that, I got all the time for it, man. Big up yourself for that smart question there. Each one teach one. Thank you very much as well for your consistent support. You're always supporting me on social media channels, and you're a very nice guy, man. Even although I've never met you, you can tell when someone's genuine and nice, and you're two of those things. But you've said, what are your plans for the summer and future development of your profile? And you've also said, have you met your expectations for this season in regards to your football content? Good questions. Threw me off a bit. I wasn't expecting that. But nonetheless, what's my plans for summer? I can't have much plans, my guy. I had a holiday or two planned. Got my money back, rubbed out. I was looking forward to Carnival as we're getting into August. The man that know me and chill with me, they know Carnival. I love it, man. The soca, the dancehall and the rest of it. But that's locked off. There's not really any plans, man. And to be fair, I ain't got no plans, man. Just a bag of football if there is any pre-seasons and stuff, because I don't know how this pre-season period is going to work and stuff like that. So probably just that, my guy, really. Yeah, that's it, man. And for the future development of my profile, that's a good question, I haven't really taken time to reflect and soak it all in the same way, I always give you the Jurgen Klopp analogy in the sense of, he has to start thinking, I guarantee you the minute Liverpool lifted up that trophy, he thought about the rebuild, and that's how life is, and that's how it is for me. I can't, rest on my laurels. This season was a decent landmark for me. I wanted 20k by the end of the season, and we managed to do that by the turn of the year. So, that was the one massive one for me. That was basically top 4 in Arsenal terms, and I managed to get that, and excel with that. So, first and foremost, I have to say thank you for you lot for pushing me over that barrier. So, I'd say, just keep expanding, see how far we can go with it, just keep challenging myself. How many subscribers can I get, how many views can I get, how can I make it better? You lot see a 2-2 green screen and things, how can I improve that? Just get better. How can I better deliver what I'm trying to say? Because you lot say I articulate myself very well. I think I'm actually terrible at that. So how can I, how can I do that better? How can I get my point across better? How can I make it so that if you don't agree with me even more, you can at least see where I'm coming from? Because that's all I want in relation to my videos, man. Like, I don't tell you lot what to think. I always say you lot to think. Challenge me as well. I'm not no oracle. We all just know football. I just happen to be doing YouTube and stuff like that. So I would say just keep getting better, my guy, really and truly. Just keep networking, seeing where I can go with it. You never know where it could take you, A big part of starting YouTube was several things. One of them was actually trying to break into the world of football. And I thought to myself, I know I live for football, and I'd like to think I'm fairly sensible. But who the F knows other than that, If you're my friend, family, loved one, I know or grew up with me, I know football and like to watch it and have an unhealthy obsession with it. But what the individuals that work in clubs, how do I transpire that in it? How do I tell you that? And I thought, you know what? Listen, I ain't got all these qualifications, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. So if I just run a little YouTube vid, you know, if you happen to be bothered to click on the link, you might just listen to me for 30 seconds and say, all right, cool, I see where he's coming with, and plus he's doing this, I can see he's got a brain and he's got these qualifications, let's throw a bone. And then it just happened by accident, and we're here now, and I'm, you know, nobody really, but we're sitting here with 20,000 of you guys, and we're ever expanding, and we're doing different things. So I'd say just keep pushing the boundaries, you know. One thing, I'm always in competition with myself, you know. I always tell you, look, I've got a, well, you can't, I always say it as this as well, you can't see it, but on the other hand of this wardrobe, which you can't see, other side, sorry, I've got a piece of paper, and it's literally titled "The Man I Want to Become One Day," and it's got every qualification, every ambition, every sort of skill, every sort of self-development thing. And then until the day I can look at that and say I've got all of that, like every one of them, I've done it all, then I'm always going to fight for that, my guy. So I would say that, to be fair with you, man. What else have you got to say as well? You answered me another question. You said, have you met your expectations for this season in regards to your football content? I kind of indirectly touched on that. I'd say big part, it was the 20,000 subscribers. I feel I was very consistent. You know, I feel it's been a long season for you lot and myself. Like, just looking at myself, you know, life is tough. You know, I've had family members dying, friends sadly losing lives, other illnesses, other little things, other things that have happened to me personally, and other little things, you know, money issues, you know, obviously a lot of anxiety when you're trying to build something, and, you know, doing a lot of things, and not just away from this, you know. I really genuinely feel I'm fighting for my life to have something successful, because I look at my past, it's not necessarily promising. I look at the present, it's not necessarily promising. So I'm kind of fighting against it. It kind of feels like I'm in water, treading sort of thing. So I would say, you know, I've never met my expectations. I don't feel I've ever met my expectations. But this season in particular, I feel I've been consistent. Like I said, everything is going on. You know, I signed up for this. Like, I signed up. Nobody told me to make a YouTube vid. I did it. So regardless what happens in my life, I've still got to get on with it, innit? Like, there's been many a times, truthfully, my guy, I don't even want to sit here and speak and things like that. But the minute you hear that, oh, people deluded, my problems are irrelevant, you know. I've got something to do. I've got to be professional. I've got to deliver what I'm saying. And sometimes I think some of you have indirectly detected it, because a friend of mine watched the video and he's like, what's wrong with you? Something's up. And then we spoke about it and whatnot. But I feel in that regards, you know, things happen. Just get on with it. I feel I've been very consistent this season. I don't feel the levels have dropped, you know, to people asking what's going on. So I feel I was consistent. You know, I think I got on with it. What else is there to say? You know, I achieved the goal of 20,000 subscribers in for what me is record time. So I'd say that's a big one. You know, I feel I had a Bukayo Saka season sort of thing. A bit disappointing bits as well. Like, I'll talk on it another day, but, you know, certain, what I'd describe as W's going on certain platforms or certain TV stations and things like that have been put in front of me, and carrots have been dangled only to take them away. But, you know, these things happen. I genuinely think the universe put them in front of me to make me more motivated. So if I had to give myself a mark out of 10, pardon me, I'd actually say, even a podcast, I was onto myself about, you know, doing a bit more audio content, and I think I can be better and more consistent in that regards. But even that, I think I've, you know, part of me thinks I want to say 7 out of 10, but at the same time, I want to say 10 out of 10 season for myself. And, you know, I'm not going to rest on my laurels. It's all irrelevant. You lot always praise me for my work ethic, my consistency, and all these things, and I'm appreciative of that. But at the same time, it's the bare minimum, you know. You praise me for working hard by all means. I love to hear negative and positive, but at the same time, that's the minimum. If you want to achieve something in life, you know, that's the minimum. Do you get it? In the same way I say, you know, how much I love when I see Xhaka and these lot standing up to be counted at Arsenal, and commitment and all of these things you want to see. On one hand, it's the minimum. If you want to get something, that's the minimum. So I'd say that, my guy, man. I'd like to think I've answered your question to the best of my ability, man. So thank you very much for that, man. It really means a lot. And you lot have kicked off the questions in a rather good way, man. Like, straight out the blocks. Normally it takes me a long time to warm up, but it is what it is. Jess has said, who would be your starting lineup for the final, assuming you're talking about Arsenal versus Chelsea? I would say it's a difficult one, because I don't want to go for it. I want to go for it at the back, truthfully. I'm a 4-3-3 man by heart, but I don't feel this is the time to be changing up things. And plus, you know, we went to 4 at the back in our last game against Watford, and it did look like players that were out there were a bit unsure. You know, we need them in the future to be able to slot in 3/4 at the back, you know, effortlessly, like, you know, a couple of years ago. I know it's not the best example, and I don't want to praise our rivals, but Pochettino a couple of years ago, you know, when it was Vertonghen and Toby and the rest of them in their prime, there was numerous times, 1 week 4 at the back, next week 3 at the back, 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it, and the consistency never dropped off. So we need to get to that. But I would say 3-4-3, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Me, I'm going Martinez in goal for obvious reasons. Back three, obviously Mustafi's out to October, so that's a difficult one. So I'd say Martinez, David Luiz in the middle of the back three, Rob Holding on the right hand side, Kieran Tierney on the left hand side at centre half. I'd bring in, I want to play Bukayo Saka, but I feel Maitland, you know, if Maitland gives me that performance I saw against City, I'm going to give Maitland now the opportunity. It probably should be Saka. I'm leaning more towards Saka when I think with my brain and less emotion, but I'm going to go Maitland Niles on the left. So Martinez in goal, back three of Kieran Tierney, Rob Holding and David Luiz. I'm going Maitland Niles at left back slash Saka, but Maitland Niles at right back. I must admit, you could move Bellerin, take Bellerin out the side, move Maitland Niles over there and go with Saka, and that won't be the worst of things, you know. I'm actually starting to think about that. But again, Bellerin didn't have a bad game in that semi-final, and he's clearly being rested as a precaution for this game. So I'm going with Bellerin on the right hand side. You know, there's only two options in midfield, Xhaka and Ceballos right now. Up top, you know, I'm going to go with Pepe. At the end of the day, he played well against City. We spent 70 odd million on him. Again, the best team might not be who's the most expensive, but you can't be signing man for 70 odd million. And in these semi-finals and finals, he's all on the bench and stuff. Like, what's the point of all of that? So I'm going with Saka. Eddie's done well generally this season, but I think Lacazette's found form at the right time. So I'm going to go Lacazette through the middle because he has been playing well in big games. On the left-hand side, you know, I should have said him first, really, but Aubameyang walks into the side. So to recap, Martinez in goal, Tierney, Rob Holding and David Luiz at centre-half, right-back Hector Bellerin, Maitland-Niles at left-back, midfield of Xhaka and Ceballos, and then obviously the front three of Pepe, Aubameyang on the left-hand side and Lacazette. I must admit, you know, leaving Saka out's the biggest one for me because he's arguably the player of the season, really, or definitely young player of the season, but player of the season. If it wasn't Aubameyang or even Leno, I would even lean towards Tierney, but he's really, you know, he had a tough time with injuries. But I would say that would be my starting lineup for the final. If Leno's fit, I'd play Leno, but, you know, he's not. And plus, Martinez don't deserve to lose his spot within that side. Good. Again, another good question, man. So, yeah, Jess, each one teach one. And forgive me, Mardi, you know, you lot have provided some very good questions and we started strong. Thomas said, hope you're doing well, DG. Always, man. Like to wish the same for you and your loved ones. You said, in what has been a dreadful season, what have been your 3 positives? If you can even manage to think of that many, given how bad this season was in brackets. Man, another consistent question asker. Difficult one, man. Difficult one. I'd say Saka. You know, I would say Saka and Martinelli, but I don't want to cheat in it. So if you let me use Saka and Martinelli, you know what, let me say emergence of young players, you know, because I feel Nelson might not be there yet, but he's got a bit of an education this year. Joe, you know, I'm still asking what he's offering on the field beyond energetic performances, but he's got exposure. Obviously, the flag bearers, Martinelli just come from Brazil, elevated himself. Saka right through Haaland, you know, 17-year-old, starting at Old Trafford, unfazed by it, you know. He's done very well. Eddie Nketiah, you know, it didn't happen for him at Leeds, really. People, myself included, were saying, is he going to get game time here? Could it be a wasted 6 months? He's elevated his status within the team. So I'd say young players elevating themselves within the first team to some stature. I'd say Arteta coming in, because like I said, you know, we look better in big games. Game management still letting us down, but Arteta's clearly improved us in several ways. I like his man management, and I might not believe in a number of individuals that he's got playing better, but you know, he's doing good man management. And obviously, if he can get players that are not up to standard, quite frankly, playing well, what could he do with actually good players? So I'd say emergence of young players, Arteta taking over. At the end of the day, FA Cup final, we got to a final, it's a bleak season, so I'd say FA Cup final. That's 3. I'm trying to think, is there any more? I'd say that. Maybe just I'd say as well, I know you asked for 3, but I'd say, even though obviously beating City means something, Liverpool in the grand scheme of things in the league didn't mean anything beyond bragging rights, but I'd say, you know, beating Man United, you know, taking 4 points off United just for bragging rights and the banter with my friends, I'd say them, you know. What else is there? I'd say United, City, Liverpool games, really, yeah, them games there, like, they're just small little victories in what was a lost war for us. In that, obviously, it means nothing, but there were small little moments. And against Liverpool, you know, Alisson and Van Dijk fell off, but at the end of the day, that's not our problem. We can only do what's in front of us. So I would say that, my dude, man. I'd say they're the positives that I could find. sorry people, work email. You know I ain't doing that right now. So yeah, they're the positives I could find, my dude, man. Live from Planet X has said another. All the veterans are coming out now. Big up yourself, man. You said, hey DG, hope you're well. You too, my guy. You said, do you think the Premier League will continue with any BLM support into next season? Eventually it will be dropped, if I'm honest. I'd like to hope so, you know, beyond what I would want to see. I'm going to cut the crap, you know. It's nice seeing the kneeling down and all of these things, but what I'd prefer, and I think it doesn't matter if it's racism, if it's sexism, if it's, you know, movements against, you know, sad things that happen to women, especially women in third world countries, you know, all sorts of abuse, just any sort of raising cause or sadly acts of terror. I think with social media and things, I feel it's nice to, obviously it's nice to see the hashtags and we're praying together and solidarity and many different buildings being lit up different colours and all of these sort of things, people. That sort of stuff there is amazing, isn't it? But at the same time, I think too many people just do that and they get a sense of feeling good and nothing else is done past that. I would like to see, you know, if there could be proper education, if there could be proper measures put in place when racism happens, proper practices, proper learning from experiences and just bettering our practices or bettering protocols and making sure that harsher punishments and other things happen. That's what I would like to see, you know, better protection, you know, social media. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to get cancelled and all of these sort of things, but we all saw a certain grime MC on Twitter and things make some comments and real quick it got shut down, you know, and he's banned from Twitter and all of these things. But when you've previously had Tommy Robertson, Katie Hopkins, all of these sort of people moving mad for years, I'm not saying what aboutery, I'm saying wrong is wrong, treat everybody accordingly. On that though, social media platforms, you know, something needs to be done. Like I said, with this certain grime MC, something was done. So what going for these footballers that are getting abused by 12-year-olds that are going to ask for autographs, you know, people that will pee their pants and never say these abusive things in the flesh. I'd like to see more actions put into place, to be fair. That's what would give me more joy and more hope, my dude, to be completely honest, man. Marcus Gotti has said, who's your top 5 targets for the 8/10 position? Do you think Emil will have a bigger part to play next season? Yeah, I do. 10, I haven't really put it to much hope, but I'm more looking for midfielders, you know. If we're looking for a 10 or someone that can play in a couple of roles, I would like Yari Vestashin, I would like Shabozlai. I'd say they're off the two off the top of my head. I can't really think right now, my dude, man. Marcus, you caught me off guard. Josh has said, how did you end up doing this? Interviews and whatnot. You should trademark whatnot, by the way. You've said it like bare times. Okay. I don't know what you mean by how did I end up doing this. I literally just put a video out on YouTube and there we went, man. Don't know what more we meant to say. So moving on from the weird one. It's a bit awkward now. Anyways, Obasa has said, forgive me, you said when fans overhype or unfairly criticize a player on available social media platforms, do you think it has an effect on them? Of course. We know we do know with the rise of social media and able to form careers, you know, certain players rightly or wrongly get over criticized and quite frankly attacked people, which is quite sad, you know. I do think it affects them because they're humans, you know. It doesn't matter how much. The best thing you can do is make someone else run your Twitter accounts and never look at them, but the one time you do, or a lot of them do run it or check it, you're seeing thousands of people, you're shit, you're this, you're that. It's obviously gonna hurt, but at the same time you gotta air it because you gotta remember fans are fickle, you know. They'll call you crap, you put in form for 10 games, they start breading you and singing your praises and kissing your bum and all these things. Fans don't matter. They're not in your position as well, you know. They will kill for your position. You're in your position, and for a reason. Even someone like Mustafi, I don't think Mustafi's good enough for Arsenal, but there must be a reason. He's a professional footballer, and I'm sitting here in front of a green screen, and the same goes for others. So believe in yourself and why you're in that role. So I'd say that, and just realize it's not that deep. Like, that's what I try and teach myself. Don't get too hung up on when you're seeing the praises. Don't get too hung up when you're seeing the nastiness. Just focus on you. Just air it. Just don't let it play a part, man. Just develop thick skin. But I do think, you know, everyone's human. It does, man. When it is unfair, you know, we're allowed to criticize players, we're allowed to ask questions within a footballing sense, but like I always say, praise and critique fairly, but the minute it goes over the top is when it becomes some. I like Leno, apologies, I like Leno, but he's very eccentric. Martinez has their moments, but Martinez is more calming. I think Leno, but it's close, man, and you know, we'll only see over a long period of time, because maybe if Martinez was in the team when we were playing really rubbish, we'd be saying something different. I don't know, but I'd say Leno right now. You've also said, should we sign for Fofana from St Etienne for 20 million euros? Well, if that was the case, I would be on that, you know. Make a blossoming partnership between him and his former colleague right now, Saliba. Ashley has said, what do you think about Demba Ba coming out and saying that Mourinho once blocked the move to Arsenal when we wanted him back in 2013? And what do you think about holding Lacazette, Torreira, Socrates and Mustafi all being on the chopping block according to Ornstein? In relation to the names you've just said, it makes sense. They're all open to offers for selling them. You know, Torreira doesn't look a fit as much as I want him to stay so he can make money. Lacazette's 29 with his contract in hand. You know, a suitable offer, something might happen. Holding's simply not kicked on, so he's probably available. I don't think all of these names are actively trying to push on. Like, I think Holding, Lacazette, Torreira is more offers come, we'll listen sort of thing, where Guendouzi is definitely someone actively trying to get out. Potentially Socrates falls there. With Mustafi being injured until October, ironically his best sort of form in recent years, there's probably no option to sell him. I know the domestic window ends in October actually, so maybe that could happen. But I would say that, man, you know, it's just we need to raise funds, and these players might not raise the biggest of funds, but collectively we'll do something. You've asked about Demba Ba saying Jose blocked his move to Arsenal. I mean, in 2013, and Jose's right. You don't want to strengthen rivals. It's that simple. Why strengthen rivals? You got Mesut Ozil, you got a fairly competent Demba Ba in the Premier League. It don't make sense letting them match him up. So it makes sense, really and truly, not to do that. Alex has said Pepe or Nelson starting on the right versus Chelsea. I think it would more be a case of Pepe or Saka than it is Pepe and Nelson. I don't think Nelson's in the conversation to start the final. I think he's played well in his last game, done well against Liverpool. But I'll go with Pepe if it was out the two you've asked. G Med has said, should we sign Coutinho? If the opportunity is there, I'm on it. Patso has said, hey bro, watching from Canada, big up yourself. What do you think about Zanolio? Baller, man. Let's see how he reacts from his lengthy layoff with Roma, but baller. Mr. Adlib has again said, given the fact it's likely we will not address all areas, what would be your priority, Thomas Partey or a centre-half? A better midfield in an attacking sense and a stability sense would relieve the pressure on our defence, but at a push, like Xhaka is playing in better form, Ceballos is playing in good form, you know. I think our midfield options put me more at least than our defensive options, because I really struggle to praise any of our centre-halves. Big up Mustafi for his form, but historically I don't think you're of the level. David Luiz has had good moments this season, but he's also shown he's not at the level. You know, Holding, he's had an injury, but he's shown that he hasn't potentially kicked on enough in terms of positionally and intelligence in terms of on the football field, regardless of the injury. Do you get it? Socrates is just not a fit under Arteta, and at 32 needs to probably be moved on. You know, Mavropanos is probably a bit too raw right now. Why he's gone out on loan and signed a new deal. Saliba's coming, so he's irrelevant from this. But I don't really have faith in any of our centre-halves, like any collective faith. Like, right now, it'd probably be Mustafi because he's in good form. But I mean, like, real faith. In the same way I look at Aubameyang, like, yeah, he's scoring goals. I would like to have a defender or a defence that I know is competent. That's just me personally. So I'd say centre-half, man. Simon Gray said, rank Decore, Partey, Zakaria and Pereira. Difficult. 3 different midfielders, man. In terms of creativity, Decore is probably top of the list. All round, I think Partey, out of all of them, all-rounder, although Decore also could claim that. I like Zakaria the most, but he's probably the rawest out of the 3 I've said. And Pereira, I think Pereira's at the bottom of the pack, but, you know, things can change. Yeah. South London. Oh, gosh. I keep losing the page. This is getting annoying. I keep losing the page. Apologies, people. I don't think my phone wants me to do this Q&A still, but apologies. Let me scroll back down. Yeah, South London's finest. You've said, yo, it looks like Matteo Guendouzi will be leaving Arsenal, but do you believe he's a player that believes his own hype? Let's not forget it was only 3 years ago that he was playing in the 2nd division. I don't think it's a case of believing his own hype. I think he at times has shown maturity and shown that firiness that you need, but I think he challenges it in the wrong way. I think he's a bit immature in that sense. I think he's one of these sort of men that are very emotional. Like I said, it can go right, it can go wrong. You know, with Brighton, you know, what happened wasn't nice, but you have to rein it in. When he was doing it against Spurs, he's getting praised. So I think it's a bit of immaturity. You know, maybe a bit of belief in your own hype at the same time. Because like he said, 3 years ago, we come Arsenal. You know, it hit off for him straight away at Arsenal. You know, it hit off for him. And you're hearing that Arteta hasn't allowed him to carry on with the same antics Emery was carrying on. Maybe, you know, he felt these performances, if that was the case and it didn't happen from day one, allowed him to do that. So, you know, he came at Arsenal, probably thought, you know, I'm going to have to do the Martinelli thing where, you know, Martinelli had to wait a bit before he got his chance against West Ham. Straight away for Guendouzi, you know, and within the next couple of years or whenever, you know, he's obviously didn't play for France, but he's in Deschamps' thinking and got called up. You know, he's had a decent role. He is a decent player. Maybe a bit of thinking you're Johnny Big Balls and things, but at the same time, you know, I'm not excusing him and he needs to fix up. But when you look at this Arsenal side collectively around, yeah, who is there to really pattern you? Who are you really looking at as Guendouzi and taking in? I'm not saying even Saka's that, and I'm not excusing any bad behaviour because you should rein it in. But looking at Saka, Joe, Maitland, Guendouzi, who are you really taking in? Like, Luiz has been around the block and you listen to Luiz and Saka says that, but are you really taking him in? You're not really taking in no one. I'm not saying we need Vieira and Henry and things like that, but if these sort of characters were around, God knows we do need them, things would be a bit different. People would have to carry themselves a different sort of way. So I'd probably say that, man. And maybe as well, I don't think he's truly comprehending the opportunity he has in front of him. And, you know, he's spoken of going Barcelona and all of these sort of things, so he might not miss it. But one day, he might look back at this period and think, did I seize it with all I could? Did I conduct myself in the best way I could? So, which he'll have to answer. Philip has said, hope you and your family are well and good. Which players do you think Arsenal should be looking to realistically sign for next season? I mean, you know, the ones we've been linked with, Leo, Gabriel of Leo, you know, Thomas Partey based on his release clause, Szoboszlai because he's not a lot, Yari Vestashin of Anderlecht had an injury, but he's still about, you know, Sangria, can't never say his name, but of Toulouse. There's some players to look at still. Potentially Manglasana free transfer, even though I'm not the biggest fan. I think he's decent, but I'm not the biggest fan. People like that. Brent has said, no, sorry, you haven't said anything. Christopher has said, hope you're well. Do you think that Pepe, Saka, Martinelli, Nelson, Nketiah and Balogun could be our front three for the next 10 years? Nope. That's a big shout. You know, it's unrealistic to assume, even away from all their ability, that they're all going to stay here for significant periods of their career. I would love it, but, you know, people are going to leave, people are going to go. I think 10 years is a massive shout, my guy, so I would say no. NEG has said, not to put you on the spot, but if you can think of your favourite Arsenal goal this season, which would it be? There's been a couple of bangers still. Pepe when he knocks in the free kicks in the Europa League. Aubameyang's against Spurs. It might have even been last season, but Aubameyang where Guendouzi set him up. I'd say goal of the season for me personally. Oh, the City goal in the semi-final, both of them. Mainly the one, you know, I think the first one. I'd say goal of the season for me, it would be Lacazette's, the one a couple of weeks ago against Spurs, just because of the manner in which he hit that, and I think that was a real rocket. I'd say that's probably off the top of my head, them goals there. Yeah, man, I'd say them goals there. I'd say them goals there still. Yeah, I'd say them. I know you're not trying to put me on the spot, but I'd say them still. Elliot has said, do you really think our budget is that low, or is it just us taking the piss with Partey? Probably a bit of both, my dude. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. I've seen a couple of repeated questions, so I won't go through them. Apologies, but it's been a lovely Q&A, as it always is, people. And please make sure you stay alert during the whole week in relation to the community tab where I ask you guys for your questions. Away from that, I've almost forgot. I always tell you a lot, and do it this time as well. Comment, if you comment the videos under with your questions, I'll get to you for the next week. And I'm about to go back to last week's question. My word, my last week's Q&A. My word, I bring out a lot of things. I'm going to let the ads play because we need every penny. Don't think anyone's actually answered it. no one's answered any questions. So ask me any new questions. So that's that. Like I said, man, it's always fantastic listening and speaking with you guys and doing this Q&A thing. But all good things come to an end. Please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. I'm out. Injuries aside, I think he's been performing to a level. Bukayo Saka has shown he can contribute. Martinelli has shown. Aubameyang as well. You know, for me personally, it's Torreira, but I'd throw Torreira in there. But all the names I said before that, I'm sure we'd all universally agree. I'm a big Torreira fan. I like that stealing midfield. But at the end of the day, he looks like a mismatch under Arteta. You know, his form's not been the best. So they're the only untouchable. So with that, you know, everybody's got a price. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to sell Guendouzi or Lacazette because I like them both. But every player's got a price, you know. If he's not going to buck up and move in line with what Arteta wants to do, then I'm going to ask for Guendouzi to be sold if I'm them, or try and facilitate that one. And there's other players, you know. I wouldn't want to sell Bellerin, but, you know, if somebody gave me a certain offer, him, Lacazette, Guendouzi, Torreira, everyone's got a price, you know. Everyone's got a price. It's the way the game goes. Clement has said, should Arsenal sign Zaha or no? I want Zaha, so I'd say that. Kaelan has said, do you think Martinelli, when back from the injury, is deserving of a starting 11 spot? If he earns it and shows what he's previously had, then why not? I think when he comes back, immediately competing. Yeah, man. Z has said, how much time does Arteta get if he doesn't deliver top 4 next season? Well, if he's not given certain players, it's all about showing, you know, in the same way he's shown some promise in implementing the system, it's all about showing that you're building something, like, clearly, because that's one thing I like about him. Football's a fickle business, so who knows, man. Do managers ever have time? But I think if he doesn't get top 4 next season, we should ask question marks. But realistically, is it a shock if we don't get top 4 next season? I think at this moment in time, without seeing transfers and stuff, I don't think it is. Just looking at where the squad is, I can't expect man to turn water into wine. He's not you know, he's not in the Bible or anything like that. King has said, how would you feel if Chelsea bid 30 million and got Emi Martinez? Well, I think you could fetch 30 million for Martinez, but if Chelsea bid it, I'd like to drive it up a bit higher, man, purely because they've been selling us a couple of players that are slightly dodgy. So yeah, moving from Twitter and moving to YouTube now, people, the community tab. Big up everyone who's diligent and militant and understands to pay attention to that. Mr. Adlib has said, 3 questions you'd ask Arteta if you interviewed him. What would be your vision for the club? Let me actually think about this. What's your long-term vision? What's your long-term system? How does your philosophies and values and all these sort of things as a coach tie into what Arsenal want? I'd say that. And 4th question, who would you want to keep or sell? Just because I want to get his mindset into who he literally wants to buy and sell and get rid of and things like that. So I'd say that, my dude. I've lost the page, apologies, so I've got to click back on that. Diabolical has said, why do you think there are a lack of top English managers? I don't know, man. You'd have to... not a clue, man. There is a bit there coming, but I don't know, man. Big up Chris Wilder, but I don't know, man. Maybe, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe there's a lack of opportunity. I know that can be said definitely for black British coaches. Maybe it's a lack of opportunity. Maybe it's, you know, seeing that, you know, obviously I want to pick my words wisely within the current climate, but sometimes, you know, people just assume foreign is better. Not to sound all Brexity and stuff, but people just assume that, you know. So people think you can't have a British right back that's decent and just because one's Spanish. And there are some players I look and I think if you were British, people wouldn't rate you. And some managers as well, really. But I'd say we suffer from that. But at the same time, can you say there's a lack of opportunity, you know, because it's the same individuals still getting jobs. With all due respect, Nigel Pearson, you know, Steve Bruce, you know, Sam Allardyce previously, it's the same Mark Hughes previously, these same groups, what's his name, Alan Pardew, Roy Hodgson, these same managers. With him, you lot know me, I'm a big fan of Roy Hodgson, but it's the same managers getting there. So maybe that whole Ring and Old Boys network is what's not allowing widespread managers in the British sense to come about. I don't know. Usha said, love what you do, GG. Thank you very much. I'm always appreciative of your support and your donation on PayPal the other day. It really means a lot. Sometimes you say some really encouraging words to me, man, and you don't really understand what it means. But you said, What will you be doing now that the season has ended? Will your content shift to non-football topics? Well, we might see a bit of that, but football never sleeps, so you're still going to see a lot of football content. You can rest assured. Like last season and the season before that, I think I've proven that, you know, we never really turn off. So there'll be something. Christopher has said, since Chambers played a season in midfield for Fulham, could you see him playing there in the future? Maybe, but just not at Arsenal. Faris has said, what do you think of Luigi Gaspar, the son of Edu, if you've ever seen him play? Well, I have seen him play, and I think he's very passionate. He's decent technically. I think he's very passionate. I've seen him fly into a couple of meaty challenges. He's got that Brazilian, South American fire about him. That's what I could say on him, really. Wayne has said, oh, rather deep one. You said, in times of self-doubt, besides your friends and family, what keeps you motivated to keep going on your journey in YouTube, football, and life? It's a tough one. I could say several things. I would say everyone has a breaking point, but I think I'm quite resilient. I think, you know, I'm very resilient when I want to do something. I think, you know, you can make me peed off, you can make me temporarily switch off, but I myself will get back on that train. Like, you know, I think I have to a degree an addictive personality, so it works to both ways, really. When I'm really not interested in something, I can't do it. Like, I can't do things half-heartedly. Do you get it? So I'd say just my own drive and work ethic and tenacity. Not to care about haters and things, but sometimes when I feel like giving up and stuff, I think to myself, like, I'm the sort of person, how can I make it? You know, if you was a boxer and you was getting booed, you know, some people would say, oh, sorry, stop booing me, and other people like, yeah, fuck you lot too. Like, that's how I feel in it when I need to fight back. So I'd say that, just the fact, and the sad fact, I think the thing that keeps me going is, you listen, I say to myself, listen, you can, part of my language, you can be a bitch, you can cry, you can moan, you can do whatever, but rightly or wrongly, the world is going to keep spinning, so what are you going to do about this? So I'd say that, my guy, man, and just remembering that I'm stronger than I'll ever know, you know, like, you know, I can, like, and just actually a bit of maturity in the sense of how bad can it get? Like, things can get really peak, but I've been there before. Like, I've, you know, been in some really dark situations. I've been speaking about them financially, mentally, emotionally, politically, to put it nicely. Obviously, I'm an MP and stuff, you know, times where, yeah, and I've managed, and I've said to myself all the time, you can get back from that, boom, boom, boom. Or sometimes I look at other people's situations. I look at, if he's going through that, if he's got this illness, if he's got that case, if he's got this, if he's got that, how can I moan? How can I feel upset for myself? Get back on the train and stop feeling sorry for yourself. So I'd say that, my guy, man. And just because, like, I don't want to live life any other way, like, man, I have to make them dreams happen some way, somehow, like, it's got to happen. Joke Man, Arsenal fan, has said, how should Arsenal fix creativity issues? First and foremost, promote passing the ball forward. Second of all, bringing in creative individuals, especially in the midfield. My name doesn't matter. Said, how many bottles of rare am I going to need to get through the final? 1 or 2, maybe 5. Safe drinking, please. Omar has said, do you think we could be in for Baku 2.0 considering how we played against Villa and Watford and how Chelsea have been playing recently? I'd like to think we'd not take our foot off the gas like what came across against Watford. You never know what Arsenal's going to turn up, but I'd like to think there's a reaction. I'd like to think so, man. Hopefully it's not Baku 2.0, because if I'm any of these players, some of you were involved that night against the same opposition, and it should have felt shitty, pardon my language. So use that to drive you to get a positive result at Wembley on Saturday. Hopefully. One has said, today, as in he's asking today, Leno or Martinez? Martinez, do you know what? It's a weird one because I think Leno's the better goalie. I'm terrible with keepers. I was saying Kepa is better than Leno like a few months ago, and he looked like it, but now he's a fraud, and Leno's playing well. But I think Leno's the better keeper, but I think Martinez, it's not going to make sense. I think Leno is the better keeper, but Martinez, I'm more calm with Martinez. Like, Martinez is more my sort of keeper, if that makes sense. Like, obviously he can do the ball playing thing, but you wouldn't necessarily say he's known for that. I like how he's quite calm. He's an old school, out of the two, he's the more old school sort